Hello all, and welcome to the Velvet Room. Thank you all for joining, and hope your stay will be pleasant. Today, I would like to discuss my thoughts on Granblue Fantasy the Animation, Season 1. I was exposed to this series through the fighting game, Granblue Fantasy Versus, and was pleasantly surprised to see it had an anime out. It was animated by Japan Animation Studio, A1 Pictures, and first aired April 2nd, 2017. I haven't personally played the fighting game, or the original RPG mobile game created by Japanese game developer Cygames, nor have I read the manga, that I believe currently has about 7 volumes. That was worked on also by Cygames, Makoto Fugetsu, and illustrated by Kocho. So the anime was my first introduction to the series' story overall. I'd like to give you all a short exposition of the story and the main character, Gran. Now you guys strap in, because this is going to be a long exposition, but I think it's essential to the plot of the story. And I believe this is only covered in the first 2 or so episodes of the anime. The world of Granblue in the anime takes place in a large sky expanse, with endless floating islands scattered throughout the sky that people live on. Each island is protected by a powerful mythical beast and creatures known as primal beasts. Gran is a young boy that lives in a small village within the Fantagrande skydom, Zilkenstick, with his childhood friend Vern, a small cute dragon, and another young boy, Aaron. When Gran was a small child, his father left. In his absence, he left Gran a note that told him to grow strong and one day travel the sky and meet him at the end of the sky in a land known as Estalucia, the island of the Astrals. Gran, always having a strong desire to travel the sky as an adventurer, also known as skyfarers in the anime, and see the world, desperately wanted to set out on a journey where he could one day meet his father and make it to the end of the sky. Strangely enough, in a show of fate, we are shown another young girl by the name of Lyria, escorted by a female warrior by the name of Catalina, who are desperately trying to escape the clutches of the Earthstate Empire, a tyrannical empire that seeks to detain Lyria and use her. The head of the battalion pursuing the two, Hydra Commander Palmer, pulls out an ominous-looking glass vial with a stone in it. The stone reacts with the one on Lyria's chest, shattering the vial and making the stone set off a huge explosion and expose to the air. The explosion sent Lyria and Catalina hurling down the airship that was at the time passing over Zilkenstick, Gran's homeland. The explosion can be seen from Gran's village, as it happened right over the forest that Gran grew up in. So he takes up his sword and rushed over, joined by Vern, to see what occurred. When he arrives in the forest, he finds Lyria lying unconscious in the forest bed. He awakes her and tells her that he will help her, bringing her back to his village. Before they can make good headway, Gran and Lyria are surrounded by the pursuing soldiers and have to escape another direction where they eventually run into Catalina. They battle more of the relentless soldiers off before Commander Palmer finds them and summons a primal beast that he seemingly controls with another purple stone in a vial. He orders that the beast to attack the escapees, and Gran jumps in to save Lyria from the attack, only to be fatally wounded himself. Lyria, anguished at this sight, splits her life force in two, gives a part to Gran, in which his fatal wound is healed, and then they together summon an even greater primal beast, known as Bahamut, and it destroys the Hydra commander, Palmer and Son, sending him and his soldiers scaring away in fear. Gran's village finds them shortly after, and invite Catalina and Lyria back to the village to rest and refresh. Catalina expresses to Gran that Lyria was imprisoned by the Erste Empire ever since she was a young girl, and experimented on to the point that she lost much of her sanity and humanity. Catalina, formerly a lieutenant of the Erste Empire, was appointed to care for Lyria in her imprisonment. It eventually started to teach her about the world and various other knowledge. She began to form a deep bond and pity for Lyria, to the point she decided to rebel against the Empire and break Lyria out of her imprisonment. She wanted to protect Lyria and needed answers about what she is and how her powers work. She expressed to Gran that she didn't know how she was going to do it. She was determined to find the answers she needed. In hearing this, Gran suggests that maybe, since she can summon and control primal beasts, her powers might be connected to the Astrals, and that if they travel to Estalucia, the island of the Astrals, past the Grim Basin, one of the most dangerous and void parts of the Skydom, they may find answers. Catalina questions whether Gran really believes that Estalucia is real, as it is taken as a place of myth and no one seems to have ever been there and returned to tell. She then goes to decline his request to join them, as she feels guilty for looping him in their affairs and getting him killed, which at this point, Gran didn't know that he was killed. After finding this out, he was now even more determined to help on their journey and explain that he shouldn't come because they don't know what could happen if Lyria and Gran are too far apart, as they now share one life force, and that he was always dreamed of traveling to Estalucia to meet his father. She reluctantly agrees with his insistence, and after a heartfelt goodbye from Gran's village, Lyria, Gran, Vern, and Catalina depart out on an amazing journey to Estalucia, the island of the Astrals. Forgive me, I know that was a lot. But now with that exposition, I'd like to share my experience with this anime. I found this anime completely captivating in the world that it is based in and the characters that we meet within the story. I've always loved just how imaginative people can be when it comes to creating a story and taking us to worlds that are vast and breathtaking. Granblue Fantasy the Animation is definitely one of those types of stories to me, and I instantly fell in love with the characters they meet along the way, one of my favorites being Rackham and Vern. The kinship that the crew are all able to share in the hilarious interactions at times, especially between Rackham and Io, had me craving more every episode. I personally watched the anime in dub, and I must praise the dub vocalists for their work in this anime, because they did an amazing job of capturing the characters and emulating their emotions. This anime, I feel, can be completely enjoyed in either dub or sub, but the dub is the one I personally prefer. Another aspect of this anime that really stood out to me were the visuals. I'm not too knowledgeable on different types of art styles, but something about the one for Granblue Fantasy just really captures the spirit of adventure and sailing through the endless sky, going from island to island on a journey of a lifetime. I think the fighting scenes were beautifully choreographed and animated as well, making their intensity be felt through every clash of the steel. One fight scene that stood out to me in particular in Season 1 was when the crew fought against Tiamat, the wind goddess, in Port Breeze Archipelago. It was beautifully animated, and the music that I unfortunately can't share with you all here was the icing on the cake for the epic battle. Really captured the intensity of battling against a giant wind goddess in the sky. I try to see if I can link the song in the description so that you all can experience that. Of course, there is much of the story that I left out because I encourage those who are interested in anime to view it for themselves and get their own experience as I did. But I will say that one of the most endearing characters to me in Season 1 was Rackham. His dream and what he accomplished in this season and just how it occurred was very spiritually uplifting. No pun intended for those who understand it. There are times in our lives where we feel bound and unable to move forward. But when we continue to strive for our hopes and dreams, that effort is never wasted. And Rackham's character really captured that state. Towards the end of the season, There are some amazing moments that happen that I would like people to see for themselves, if they're interested in the anime so far. If this anime or what you've seen has interested you, I highly recommend viewing it for yourself. There are currently 2 seasons out of the anime, and I will be doing another video for Season 2, Granblue Fantasy, as the story only goes up from here for me. I was so fascinated by the anime that I actually was inspired to look into the lore of the mobile RPG game that I believe it originated from. That'll conclude my thoughts on Season 1 of Granblue Fantasy the Anime. And I thank you all for listening to my experience. Of course, I could say so much more about what happened in the season, as I only scratched the surface of the plot in my summary of the first 2 episodes or so. But I hope what I've shown, for those of you who liked it, will go and find that experience for yourselves by watching the anime. I'll be posting another video of my thoughts on Season 2 sometime after this one goes up, and hope you all will have gained a new experience with the series by that time. Thank you all, and never forget, every day is a chance for a new story and experience to be explored. Don't let it slip past you. Until next time, I bid you all farewell.